Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm with the SHARE project here in Haywood County. SHARE stands for Spreading Hope and Awareness and Removing the Epidemic Stigma. And with each of these interviews, I've been trying to kind of pick a word, spreading hope, awareness, and stigma. And today's interview, I am hoping, is actually going to hit all three of those. We're definitely talking about awareness for the resources that we're going to expand upon. And just talking about addiction and substance use takes care of getting rid of stigma. And I'm also hoping that by the end of this interview that we are spreading a little bit of hope as well for families and those that are struggling with substance use disorder. So I am with Tabatha Brafford. She is with Appalachian Community Services here in Haywood County. And she is the community director of community relations.
Right.
So I'm going to let her first tell us a little bit more about herself, as we've been doing a little bit more personal things about yourself, how you got into doing this type of work, as well as how you what brought you to Appalachian Community Services. And so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I actually have been here for 20 years. Wow. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Beautiful place to be, but this is much more prettier. So
Nice.
I got here as quick as I could. But I've been here for 20 years.
Okay.
And brought here just from the beauty of the area. Began working as a therapist at that time for Smoky Mountain Counseling Center, which is now known as Via Health.
Okay. Yes.
And at that time, I was an outpatient therapist. Since that time, I've had the opportunity to also work as a therapist on the unit that's here, also with mobile crisis, then on to the director of crisis services, consumer services, and now community relations. It sounds like a lot, but I've been with Appalachian for about a decade.
Okay.
So my transition to community relations occurred when ACS was acquired by our parent company, NCG Care, a few years ago.
Okay, very good. So therapy, a therapist would be your beginning background, then, it sounds like.
Yeah. I went to school at the University of North Florida, and that was, I'm not going to say when.
Okay.
No, but, it's interesting. There are stories that bring people to this field, and mine was, like a lot of people, of course, I've been impacted by people I care about that have dealt with addiction. But when I went to college, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh my!
Right, so you can't get much further away from
yes.
right. But I had a psychology class my sophomore year, and I was hooked. And I always had a desire to help people, but this, to do something that's bigger than yourself and connect with people and make a difference.
Right.
It kind of is what has driven me all of these years.
Yes. And how long did it take? From the beginning then, when you realized that you wanted to kind of focus into that field, how long did it take for you to realize that you wanted to focus into something that substance use, addiction, mental health? How long did it take before you realized that?
Yeah, there was a change in thought of, years ago, we're going to treat the mental health and we're going to treat it, addiction over here, and you just can't do that. You have to treat the whole person.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a combination of all of the above. So it really wasn't me saying, I'm just going to focus on substance use.
Yes.
It was, I'm going to focus on whatever it is that person is bringing to me, wherever they're at in their journey. And sometimes that is substance use. Sometimes it may just be depression. Whatever it is, I want to assist there.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit more then about Appalachian Community Services and
Sure.
what you offer besides the substance use. I want to address that as a separate thing at the end. So, because I know you offer a lot more than just substance use services.
We do. Well, Appalachian opened our doors in 2003, and we serve the 7 western counties of North Carolina. So everything right next to Buncombe, Haywood, and everything after that. Is what we do, and we do have a very nice continuum. We have far out west, actually residential group homes, psychosocial rehabilitation. We have individual, group, family therapy, we have, I'm almost going into the substance services, but I'm going to hold
That's
off.
all right.
I'm going to hold off on those. And then, of course, psychiatric services as well, psychological testing, some school-based services. We have done different things in the jails. So, yeah, I think over the years, it's grown.
Okay. I think I noticed on the website, of course, this almost crosses over into the substance, but DUI services?
We do.
I remember seeing that.
In several of our counties, we do offer DUI services.
Okay, and I assume that means kind of like classes.
It is,
and
yes.
Evaluations.
It's classes, an assessment initially, and then, depending on what really is needed, it looks a little different for each person.
Yeah.
It's not really a one size fits all. It's
Yes.
kind of geared toward what is this person needing from us.
So tell me what you offer right here in Haywood County then. Let's narrow it down to what you do offer here.
Yeah, actually the building we're in right now is called the Balsam Center for Hope and Recovery. Okay. So we are one of two locations in Haywood. Our other location is really in the center of Waynesville, the log cabin right across from Barberville Baptist Church.
Okay.
But that primarily is our outpatient.
Okay.
So it really serves any age in any discipline, whether that be mental health, substance use, developmental disabilities. Okay. And here at this specific location is our psychiatric services, okay. Medication-assisted treatment, okay. Mobile crisis, which is in every county, okay. But also branches out of this location too. And then our adult recovery unit, which is a 16-bed crisis stabilization and detox. It can be both. It could be just one. But it's 1 week, about one to 2 week stay for folks that come for help. Okay. And the psychiatric or psychiatric services? Psychiatric services. Yes. A different word in there. Yeah, we also do at the other location. We do testing, psychological testing.
Okay. For anyone.
For anyone, okay. Correct. But then there's psychiatric services. That's the medication management. Okay. And with that, we also provide medication-assisted treatment, Suboxone.
Okay. Yes, which I definitely want to talk more about.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're almost there.
I got you.
Okay. Okay. So tell me then. I want you, and this is the first time I've asked this in an interview, so you are the first.
Okay.
How do you define addiction?
Ooh, we're just going right at it. Yes. I would say medical. It is a medical condition, and it's treatable. Okay. I think if that's really all that anyone takes away from my definition, that's great. Take that and run with it. Obviously addiction. It's complex, right? You throw in the brain, and you throw in genetics and the environment and situations that we go through in life. All play in there, but it's treatable and it's a medical condition. Medical.
So you yourself believe it's a disease?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. I heard a definition one time, and I think this kind of covers the same thing. But addiction is anything that you continue to do on an ongoing basis, despite negative consequences in your life. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's pretty, a lot goes into it, like you said, but that covers a lot, and not just substance use, but shopping,
that's right.
Exercise, working too much, your devices, being addicted to your device, anything that you continue to do, even though you know it's bringing negative consequences. And I like that definition.
Yeah, you're right on, and I love the SHARE project and that you're bringing that focus. Because I think understanding that it's a medical condition, that's a huge step at overcoming or breaking the cycle of stigma with the illness. Yes. So getting people to understand that piece of the brain and how addiction happens is extremely important.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. I agree. Okay, so let's dive right into then what specifically you offer for substance use disorder here, how you approach that as far as treating a disease. Go ahead, you start, and I'll ask anything that I want you to expand on.
Well, the one thing that's very special about this location is that we're open 24/7 every day of the year. And Appalachian Community Services has walk-in centers. So any one of our outpatient locations that are on our website are walk-in.
Okay.
You don't need to call to schedule an appointment if you're wanting to engage with services. You can just show up.
Okay.
It's normal business hours, but this is the 24/7 location.
Okay.
So another thing with this location, it's kind of our dispatch central. You know, if you call our crisis line, you always get someone here that answers. And, you know, sometimes that's just talking, sometimes it's engaging our mobile crisis team,
Okay.
where we're mobile. So sometimes it's talking, but where are people most comfortable? You know, coming here to sit in an office or being in their most comfortable setting,
Yes.
which is usually their home. So we've been to homes, we've been to schools, we've been to churches, we've been on the parkway. I mean, Burger King, and that seems to be a common one where people feel
Really?
we're cool with that, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
You know, we're there, you know, if it's safe, we're going to go. So, you know, I think our response with other stakeholders happens, you know, like with social services and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So crisis, also our adult recovery unit, and
Okay.
I talked about that a
Mhm.
little bit. Our average is 5 to 7 days, that individuals that sometimes return. It doesn't happen a lot, but it sometimes does.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we will keep people a little bit longer, you know, if that's really what they're wanting to do.
Yeah.
You know, again, the journey's different, right,
Yeah.
for everybody. And also at this location, we have psychiatric services.
Right.
And medication-assisted treatment, which right now, due to COVID, as evidenced by our social
Mhm.
distancing
Yes.
and masks and the door open, yeah, right now it largely is virtual.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
so
Awesome that you are able to do that, though.
we are when
Yeah.
it's appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's not appropriate, right? But it's given people an option to where they can still get services in a way that they want, but also in a way that's safe.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let me back up just a minute then. 2 questions
Yes.
in there. I'm going to start with the first one, okay? Now, I do remember, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, something like that, reading an article about some funding being cut for the crisis part, the
Okay.
crisis unit, the 24-hour part. Is that still on track? Is the funding going to be cut? Have you come up with other funding, or what does that look like going forward?
That's a really great question, and I definitely want to answer that because it take a little time to do that. Because the loss of funding, it isn't new. You know, since 2016, our region, and when I say our region, I'm thinking of the VIA Health region, which is 23 counties. Right? Since 2016, we've had $52 million in state budget cuts. Right, so that trickles down, right, to
Yes.
losing different things. And despite there really being a desire to keep the behavioral health urgent care, which is what that program was, there just wasn't the funding that was there to continue to do it. And, you know, we called it the BHUC, but essentially, you know, it was where someone could come for medication care, counseling, assessment, and even stay there for up to 23 hours while they're waiting on a bed sometimes.
Okay.
So that program was eliminated.
Okay.
However,
but that's not the same as the
It's
crisis.
not the same
Okay.
thing. So the
Okay.
adult recovery unit is here. It's been
Okay.
here a very long time.
That's super news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super news, yes.
And again, what hasn't changed is the fact that we're open 24/7, 365. That people can just show up and look
That's
in.
just great. Yeah.
So that, you know, in these times where things change so much, you hear, you read an article, it's important to get that message across.
Okay, excellent. I'm
Yeah.
glad I asked that question then.
Yeah,
Okay, so
thank
then
you.
the second question that came out of that, you said, you know, about a week stay approximately.
Yes.
What do they do next? Then I imagine at that point you made some contact, you've had maybe some psychiatric evaluations where you could recommend what they do next, but
Right.
I mean, what do you just out the door? Do you
No.
have some other services that you're in partner with that you would pass off to?
Yes. You know, of course I'll have in mind, it would be great if XYZ would happen, you know, but again, you can't be judgmental.
Yeah.
It's that person's journey, and our job is to support them on that journey, whatever that may be, whether that be through continuing here with something like Substance Abuse Intensive Outpatient, which is a combination of group and individual therapy. If they're on medication-assisted treatment, or they want to continue seeing our prescriber, or just outpatient, Sometimes that's what they want. And that's great, right? We connect that. Sometimes it's going on to a rehab, such as ADACT in Asheville.
Yeah.
So we will go ahead and bridge that. Sometimes even driving the individual there, or holding on to them a little bit longer if that's what they want, if it takes a little bit longer for them to have a bed open up.
Yeah.
Right? That's where sometimes the longer happens. And at other times, sometimes people just they don't want any of it. They're not wanting to, and that's okay. Then it's no, goodbye, good luck. It's let's look from a harm reduction standpoint.
Yes.
Where are you at? I want to support you where you're at, and I'm going to hang with you.
Stay in contact.
Try to mitigate the risks, and make sure that where maybe there is a syringe exchange, or connecting to resources.
Yes.
Not just a formal organization.
Yes.
Such as ACS.
Yes. Do you have, and maybe you can't answer this at all, but do you have a percentage, guess how many take advantage of some of those follow-up services? Would you say it's whatever that is, whether it be ADACT or the outpatient, or in comparison to nothing?
Yes. First of all, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, we initiated what's called our Peer Bridger program, and that was actually something that Via Health brought to us and other providers. They were wanting a bridge. So when someone's getting ready to leave a facility such as ours, they're given an appointment. They're giving the connection. They're giving the resources to follow up with. But sometimes it can take several days or a week to engage with whatever that is. And there's reasons for that. But there needed to be a bridge in the middle. Yeah. Someone that's calling to say, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Can I just check in? How's your plan going? And when we initiated that plan, there was an improvement in the actual engagement with whatever service that was being followed up with by that particular person. So we have our Peer Bridger program. So they're discharged, but we still stay connected. Yeah. And really make it a point to know that, while people, they might not want to come back, you can. Yeah. It's not always a one-stop shop. I'm ready, I'm good. Again, it's different, but, we don't go away.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so at the SHARE project, we believe in recovery for life. I believe that it is not, even 6 months. I mean, a year at best before you're even on your way. Yes. So, and you've touched on a couple of the things that I kind of had in mind. Do you believe that it is recovery for life? And if so, what are some, you've mentioned a few of them already, what are some of the services? Like you mentioned medicated assisted therapy, so you do believe in that.
We do.
And
we do. And I'm liking the SHARE project more and more because you're asking the perfect question.
Okay,
because there is a misunderstanding, I think, where people believe that, especially, those of us that may not be dealing with addiction, but that are supporting someone, that is, or just it's in our communities, it's in all of our communities. And we think, go to the Balsam Center and you're good now, let's go on with life. And, it's a first step for many, abstinence. It's not the only path.
It's not. And I'm very glad you said that, because that it's, I don't want to say old school belief.
No.
At all. But yet, because it's not. There are different paths, and you have to find the one that works for you.
No, you're very right. And I think that's too, is where you get into treating the whole person as well. So there's number one, abstinence is not the only path.
Yes. Right?
But also, again, the journey's different. Yeah. But just because someone may not have a certain substance in their system anymore, life is life, and it's going to throw you a curveball, right? And you're having to look at that if you're on that abstinence path, learning to deal with those challenges in life, loss, job losses, just tragedies, whatever, without a substance. Yeah. Right? So you're having to use skills that you haven't used in a very long time. Yeah. It's a lifetime journey.
Yes. Do you find that a lot of people take advantage of those those therapies, those kinds of things to treat the underlying causes of some of the addiction issues, the trauma possibly, we believe that there's a huge percentage that's a dual diagnosis. It's not just addiction, it is something else, mental illness, trauma that needs to be addressed.
Sure, and it's different. You look at people start using substances for many different reasons, right? But I think what happens in the brain happens. Your brain, those areas in your brain specifically related to pleasure and motivation. Those are changed. Yeah. Right. One of the specific chemicals is dopamine. Yeah. Right. And dopamine, it tells the brain that this is the most important thing. This is important. This substance is important. And do it again. Yeah. Right. And remember the people, places, and things that were associated with when you did it, because then we're more likely to do it again. Yeah. So you do it again, and basically you almost eventually become triggered by those persons, places, and things. And the things that you once found pleasure in. You find that they may not be as pleasurable because the priority in your brain, because your brain's programmed, that priority is that substance. So then everything else just becomes kind of blah, or maybe the person gets depressed. So again, it's complex. Sometimes there are experiences. You mentioned trauma. That needs to be dealt with and worked on, addressed. Sometimes it's the environment. Things in there obviously come into play. There's that genetic factor as well, that you can't deny. Yes. So you have to look at all of it. It's not just this is the path and now you're good to go. Yeah. Because you're on Suboxone. You have to treat the whole person. Yes.
I like it. You touched a little bit on jail services. That you at least used to, or do you still have any kind of peer support in the jail, or come along beside any of the jail diversion programs or anything like that?
Sure. Over the years, we've done different things. Here in Haywood County, we have a wonderful sheriff's department and police departments that are very involved in the different initiatives that are happening in our county. And one of the ones that we're involved with is the LEAD program, so Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, right? So we do assessments along with another organization in town. We usually end up doing them on weekends and nights because we're always here, right, in this location. And also the treatment side of it as well. And I don't know how familiar folks are with law enforcement and assisted diversion.
I did. That was my last interview.
Perfect.
So with Tyler Trantham.
Yes.
So now actually in the Waynesville Police Department, I have not spoke with the coordinator of the LEAD program.
That would be Gary Yoakum. Yeah, and phenomenal, and that's really being driven by the North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition. National, but they're here in Haywood County, and they have a footprint here, and they're making a difference. So I'm glad to hear that.
Okay. I think then just one more question before we wrap things up.
Okay.
What specific things do you offer for families here of someone that's either got a youngster, I say child, but adult child, that to help the family members learn to cope, learn to not enable, the different resources you might have to come along beside the family members.
Yeah, and obviously we have services that individuals can engage on their own. We have people that are actually engaged in services where they're the identified individual, whether that be a group or individual treatment. But we have encouraged, whether that be our substance use intensive outpatient or the adult recovery, family is a very important piece of that, and people, knowing that their family is there to support them through that, but also an opportunity for families to learn. For example, the medical condition piece. That people are not weak, they're not unwilling to stop using a substance, or whatever it is the goal of the family member is. But I think that that's an important piece of our different services that we offer. Sometimes we do get individuals that they want something specifically for them, but they do not want to be, a client of Appalachian Community Services.
Right.
And we do have a lot of conversations with those individuals. Sometimes they'll call our crisis line and just talk because they just don't know what to do. In Haywood County, we have a lot of wonderful resources here. We have NAMI that's here. Also, though, I've really been surprised by the number of individuals that have engaged in virtual support groups that are available that have nothing to do with any of the providers here. Whether that be Al-Anon or things like that. So, I think we do encourage family involvement, but sometimes it involves us referring people to somewhere that isn't even us. If it's appropriate to do. And sometimes it is.
Okay, awesome. All right, and the last question, the one I've been asking everybody.
All right.
Okay, to wrap things up. If there was one thing that you could change or make different about the way substance use is either looked at, treated, treatment services, lack of treatment.
Yes.
One thing that you could change, and fairly specifically in this area, but you could broaden it out, generally speaking, I guess.
Okay.
What would be that one thing that you would change if you could wave a magic wand?
Can I have two? Do I get
Sure.
First, I wish that there was transitional recovery housing, more transitional recovery housing available in Haywood County.
In Haywood County, yes, absolutely.
That's number one. Number two, I do wish, and again, our community has come a long way. I wish that our community as a whole embraced harm reduction. I really do. And we have some wonderful boots on the ground, people that are really pushing that and doing a wonderful job. But when that happens, that's a game changer.
Yeah, well said. We are fans of harm reduction as well, so we've tried to be vocal in that regard as well. So it's the first step for many people. It is the first step. It just in making that engagement and it's the first step, So and where they go with it from there, multiple avenues, but for many it is the first step.
Very true.
Anything else you have to add?
No, I'm excited to give you a tour of the
that's going to be part two. Yes, absolutely.
Which I hope folks stick around for that or check out part two because there's a lot of fear, just in general, of going to a facility-based crisis or an inpatient unit.
What do I expect?
What is
what
it?
So I'm excited myself.
I'm excited to mask up and maybe if we can eliminate any little bit of that fear of what is a place like that like? What is it like there? We're just people, same issues and problems, and I'm excited to overcome that fear.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your time,
thank you.
Tabatha, and we'll pick up with part two.
Wonderful.